Thanks for joining us today. I'm Cody Holyoke. We begin with a hard conversation on a difficult topic that is literally life and death. The state of Missouri killed a man last week, 17 years after he took a life.
If I can erase that day, I would. I just want to say I'm sorry.
That's Kevin Johnson in a video produced for his fight for clemency. Johnson was just 19 when he gunned down Bill McEntee, a police sergeant in Kirkwood, Missouri, outside St. Louis. McEntee's widow spoke to reporters after Johnson's execution Tuesday night.
This is something I hope no other family has to go through, because you truly never forget or get over. Our family has been able to get through this the best we can, despite all the obstacles that have been thrown at us.
It benefits no one.
Last week, protesters rallied on the steps of the Missouri Supreme Court, calling for justices to stay Johnson's execution. A court-appointed special prosecutor who reviewed the case argued racial bias played a role in Johnson's trial, conviction, and death sentence. And protesters say despite Johnson's admission of guilt, he didn't get a fair sentence because of the way the jury was selected. The state and U.S. Supreme Court denied Johnson's appeals, and Governor Mike Parson refused his request for clemency. Johnson's execution is the second in Missouri this year. Nationwide, he is the 17th person put to death in 2022. Capital punishment is nowhere near as common as it once was, and it is once again barred in federal cases, but not on the state level. Missouri is one of 27 states across the country, along with Kansas, that allows prisoners to be put to death. But Missouri is one of only 13 states where executions have been carried out in the last 10 years. The last time it happened in Kansas, 1965. The Death Penalty Information Center, which tracks executions nationwide, is watching more than 24 scheduled for next year. And they're all just in 4 states: Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma, and Missouri. By the way, 2 more executions are scheduled to happen in Missouri in the next couple of months. Let's get to the heart of this delicate matter with Sean O'Brien, professor with UMKC School of Law. Thank you so much for being here. First, what stood out to you about the Kevin Johnson case?
Well, what's interesting is we have a prosecutor elected in a county that has learned to care about racism in its criminal justice system. And this prosecutor sees evidence of it in Kevin Johnson's case and says, I have an ethical duty to do something about this. And then to see the pushback against that prosecutor. I mean, normally prosecutors are considered a minister of justice, responsive to their electorate. And so we're having this, local prosecutor who's been given this discretion by the legislature, and the pushback is just significant, coming from both the Attorney General's office and now the Missouri Supreme Court. Justice Jackson filed her dissenting opinion from the Supreme Court decision not to look at this case. And I think every ethicist, legal ethicist, should look at it because she's right.
It's very interesting about the Johnson case. This was very unique because he appealed the sentence while admitting that he murdered a man, right? He's saying that he was guilty. There are several cases in which people who are convicted maintain their innocence. Some have even been exonerated for a number of reasons. That has to be notable.
Yeah, the first 4 exonerations I was involved in Missouri were people on death row. I mean, I was not an innocence lawyer. I was a death penalty lawyer.
Sure.
And so the risk of executing the innocent has really caused the public to kind of question their commitment to the death penalty. I mean, support for the death penalty has always been a mile wide and an inch deep. People say, I support the death penalty, and then you say, yeah, but do you support it for somebody who's mentally ill? Do you support it for somebody if racism tinges the outcome of the sentencing phase of the trial?
And that's checking some of the boxes in the Kevin Johnson case.
Right, exactly. And so when we talk about a death sentence being reliable, historically the Supreme Court has said reliability means not just did he do it, but does he deserve it, and is the process tainted in any way by passion, prejudice, or racism? And in those cases, we should not be using the death penalty. In fact, I think it's worth noting that in Missouri, which is, a death penalty state, an active death penalty state, a jury in Missouri has not imposed a death sentence for more than 10 years.
So this is coming from
It's coming from judges. Okay. If a jury can't decide to execute somebody under Missouri statute, the judge gets to make the call. And so our last 3 or 4 death sentences have been imposed by judges in cases where juries said no.
So, you know, there's a moral argument, obviously, but there's a policy argument, too. Kansas, for example, doesn't have a death row per se, but there are a number of inmates in prison awaiting death sentences. Some of them have been awaiting that sentence for decades.
Right.
What is the cost to taxpayers? Are capital punishments more expensive or less expensive than life sentences?
They're far more expensive. The litigation itself in an individual case is about 3 times more expensive. But when you look at cases where the state invests a lot of money to try to get a death sentence, and they don't, you have to add that to the death penalty side of the formula,
right,
because you wouldn't have that litigation if you didn't have a death penalty. So depending on which studies you look at, a single death sentence can cost as much as $7 or $8 million. Versus about, and that's including the cost of incarceration, litigation, experts, appeals,
right,
as opposed to just maybe a tick over $1 million over the whole lifespan of a prisoner serving life without the possibility of parole. So it's far more expensive, far more.
And as we mentioned, there's a federal moratorium on executions right now. Does that shape at all how states handle this?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, it's something to look at for the
right,
state, but frankly, states are independent sovereigns, and it really comes down to the whims of an individual prosecutor, and that's another issue in the Johnson case. We have a prosecutor who sought so many death sentences that county is responsible for about 1/3 of Missouri's executions. And so if you saw the death penalty information website, there's a report called the 2% report that shows that a majority of death sentence executions in America come from a very small number of counties. And so St. Louis County is in the top 10 in America at sending men into the death chamber.
Interesting. And as we said, Missouri, one of 4 states putting people to death next year.
Yeah.
Sean O'Brien with UMKC, thank you so much for having this difficult conversation with us today.
Thank you for having me.